Okay, the front rail is bedded, the balance rail is bedded. I checked the back rail and it is still bedded. Now I'm going to install the Keysteps, which I took out to do the front rail bedding, and sample that bedding to then be able to set up on the bench with. I thought I'd just show you the use of my work tray, one of the uses of it, just to set out my tools so they're at hand as I'm doing this work. Okay. Okay. These just slip over the front key pins. Comme ça. And you have to choose when the end keys of two sections are naturals beside each other, then you just have to choose which one you're going to use. And since the bass section is relatively long and I have one in the middle of the tenor section, I'm choosing the E, which means that there'll be kissing samples of strike on either side of it, because you want those to be as far out in each section as you can get, but you can't use the bedding sample. Now, because the key level is sagged, I had to, here I'm going to show you a contrast between the two. For the third one, I had to resort to a 10 millimeter key step, whereas the rest, the 12 millimeter ones will work all right. And it doesn't matter, because all I want is for the bedding samples to have their key step touch the underside of the key and the key be stable. Then when I go out to the custom key bed, I can, I'll have an accurate sample to work from. But if 12 millimeters is too tall, which it was in this case, and I'm putting this one at, the glide bolt is between B and C. I'm putting it under B, and it turns out that A is the high point from the slant that the tenor takes. If you go from that high point of A, it slants down under the bass strings, and the bass strings slant up over the tenor strings. Okay, so I'm putting these one in front of each glide bolt, and I've taken the punchings off both strike and bedding samples. The bedding sample goes between the strike samples, except at the ends. The strike samples are on the inside. If I was going to reuse these punchings, I would put all the bedding and leveling samples in order. I start at the base onto, there are two machine screws that come with the leveling sampling kit, and you just push them on. They're press fit, then they'll stay in order. I put the cardboard punching down so that it's firm against the end, and so the soft punchings are up, and they go in order, and there are always more strike samples than there are bedding leveling samples, so you don't get mixed up as to which is which. And there are 2 machine screws, so one is for the leveling and bedding samples, and one is for the strike samples. Okay, and another thing is that I number the Keysteps. It's kind of a simple idea, but that way, if I take them out when I'm at the custom key bed, but want to refer back to them, in particular for the leveling samples at the 2 ends and the one at E in the middle. So there's E. E and F are the break between the sections there, B and C here, and actually E and F down here. So in each case you have to choose which one is going to be the bedding sample, and it just needs to be a natural key that is beside the glide bolt that it is in front of. And the reason for that is that the glide bolt is the point of both greatest stability, in that it is the structure for the balance rail as it touches down to the key bed, but it's also the most sensitive. Okay, now what I want is a little bit of tap for each of them as I start off. So tap, tap, tap. This one is different, and I'll show that in a little while. Let's see, I'm gonna adjust your view a little bit here. Okay, number 1. I'm going to take it down further. Now we've got a definite tap. And I'm going to bring it up until I just get rid of that tap. Maybe a little bit more. Now the thing about it is, the key step has an oval hole, and it has to be a little bit bigger than the key pin that it goes over. And it provides a little bit of front to back motion. You can feel it kind of tap front. You can hear it there. And so the underside of the key and the key frame make a very slight triangle. The key is higher at the front than it is at the balance before it's played, and when it's fully played, if everything's set up right, it should be flat. It should be parallel to the key bed when the key is fully depressed. So it starts off with a bit of a triangle, and that little bit of a triangle and this little bit of play means that I can have no tap there, and if I've done it right, a little tap there. Pretty cool, huh? Very accurate. Okay, so we have to do this to each. That one's tapping. I also center the key step. Oh, gosh. And in case there's any little bit of different, if the key is on a, they haven't yet been squared. If it's in the center's easy to find. It'll be the same out on the custom key bed. Okay, now I've got to check my work, validate. I'm going to back it up. And I do have a little bit of a tap. Okay, I'm just going to take you through the whole business here. It's almost in the right place already. So I'm unscrewing the machine screw so it goes up to touch. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. There also is a tendency for it to slide out, but okay. I just want it to be the same on the custom key bed. And people have used, key dip and recreate the key dip or aftertouch. But the thing about it is you got a soft punching in there and air between the cardboard and paper punchings, and it is just not accurate enough. And it's one of the reasons that traditionally we have touch-up to do when we get back to the piano. There we go. And using the ratcheting end, of course, is a lot faster if you've got a long way to go. Maybe. Here we go. All done. So those are the bedding samples, and the two outer ones are the leveling samples. Now, often, even if I'm not going to use the specific height of 1 88, I will cut punchings in to raise them up to make sure that it clears all the other keys. But as the need for that 10 millimeter key step in the middle indicated, there is a swale in the level of the keys that, and the keys are close enough to each other. So I've tried it out, and this will work. What we don't want is in between keys interfering with the next step. Okay, this next step adds a gauge of the shape of the front rail to the bedding samples, which are gauges from the front rail to the balance rail to the back rail. They're like little slices of truth that we set up to. But they can be true at the same time that the shape of the front rail isn't exactly the same as the way it was in the piano. So this gets around that. It is, the straight edge is supported by key 1 and 88, which are, we've just adjusted the key steps so that they are firmly supported. And in the middle, this E has space between it and the straight edge. And instead of turning the key step up to the key, I turn key and key step up to the straight edge. And when you get there, use the tap test. Okay, no tap, but then I check the two other places. No tap. No tap. If you go too far, one or the other of those two places, or both, will tap and be unstable and want to skate. So it's a very accurate measurement, touching in 3 places. And please like, subscribe, or follow the link in the notes to my website.